I'm here at the Lipton Circus in Colombo too, where 1 billion rising is happening right now. And with me is Anitra Pires. Anitra is going to tell us a little bit about the campaign itself. Now Anitra, 1 billion rising, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think it's 1 million rising against abuse of women in Sri Lanka. I think it's about time. There's a lot of it that goes on here. I receive a lot of it as everybody thinks I'm white. They don't realize I'm Sri Lankan. So I get it firsthand because people feel very free to talk in Sinhalese in front of me, and they abuse me in filth, this and that, and they think I don't understand it, but I do, and it's absolutely appalling. I know all tourists, female tourists who come to this country, go away feeling abused, violated, because a lot of our males are very vulgar. There is no recourse. We get molested on the beaches sometimes, get exposed at, lots of things like that. So it's really appalling, and I don't know how they plan to even have tourism here. They should only say for males, because females are not safe in this country. And I feel it, although I'm a Sri Lankan and I can give back. But against 5 or 6 guys, what can I do? I can maybe kick one guy, hammer one guy. But even then, I mean, I'm just, not that big to take on a whole bunch of guys. It's a terrible situation, and there's no law. Or there is law, but it's not enforced. Men are just allowed to just go crazy and be nasty to women, and it's about time it stops.
And Anitra, do you believe in the notion that women are partially to blame for the situation?
Well, I don't think so, because the woman is the fairer sex, they are the weaker sex. Unless they carry guns to protect themselves, what can they do? Like I said, I can maybe thrash one guy who is my size. I'm a black belt in karate, I can do that. But who else has that ability? Not the village girls. Girls in my village in Tangol, and Tangol is a president city where he's from. My maid doesn't even walk home at night, even though her village is full of her relatives and people she has grown up with. She doesn't go home after 6 in the night. I have to go and drop her at home because she's afraid even her cousins or people she has known since childhood will abuse her. So what does that say? I mean, there is no recourse. I mean, it's absolutely, I have to have 2 dogs to protect me on the beach when I walk on the beach, because I have been exposed by many, and young boys, 16, 17 years old. They're absolutely fearless. I have 2 Labrador Alsatians now to walk with me on the beach to protect me from this. But I mean, it's absurd, it's crazy.
And who do you think should ideally be responsible for putting out a voice there?
Putting out a voice, it's us women. We have to rise up and demand that the authorities control the men. The beaches, the public areas should be policed by people in civil. The policemen, police themselves do that sort of thing, they should be severely reprimanded. And they should reprimand other males who do it. And there should be like high fines or something. I mean, there has to be something. In other countries, it's not like this. Only in places maybe like Bangladesh. And do we need to compare ourselves to them? I don't think so. We should compare ourselves to something better, where women have equal right and protection. I mean, just because you wear a bikini or a pair of shorts, why should you be abused? I mean, everybody has seen the female body just because, boys wear shorts, boys go bare-bodied, they are not abused. So this thing about, when you wear a pair of shorts, you deserve to get raped, that's bullshit. I mean, that's rubbish. That's rubbish. These are the bodies we've been born with. Everybody knows what a female body is like. They have mothers, they have sisters. Do they rape their mothers and sisters? I'm sure they see them in their redda and hatte or whatever, or even naked at home. What's the difference? What is this thing about, okay, you can wear a mini skirt, you should be able to go. In Singapore, you can wear a swimming suit on the road, nobody will look at you. It's just, I think our men, they have to be controlled. There has to be control and enforcement of that control. And then I think people will stop,
Thank you, Anitra. Thank you very much.
Right, I'm now with Dr. Nalinika Obesekara at the OBR event. Now, Doctor, what do you think, this entire grouping that you see out here, all these people, do you think that it's enough?
Well, no, I think it's never enough. I think it's a really important issue. It's an issue that should have been in the public eye a long time ago. It has come up more in the public eye because of the horrendous rape in India. And I think it's a good kickstart. It's something had to kickstart it, so it's good that it happened that way. But I think it's something that is not just a one-day issue. This is something that we have to live with every day. And some of us are more self-confident. Some of us have bodyguards like this. Others don't. Some women are timid, some women are shy, some women won't stand up, won't talk out. And therefore, all women, no matter what your personality is, no matter how self-confident you are, no matter how worldwide or how sheltered you are, you should have the freedom to be yourself and do what you have to do and live a normal life without the threat of violence of any kind.
So based on what you said now, do you think that women are partially at fault for being silent in the face of abuse?
Yes and no. I think there's a lot of cultural issues there. The reason women are silent in the face of abuse is that the culture makes it seem like it's the woman's fault. The culture makes it seem like it's an embarrassing thing to be the victim of abuse, and there's a lot of repercussions on women. They have to live their lives, and therefore there may be very, very good reasons where they don't report abuse. However, we need to create a culture that is very supportive so that women have the confidence to report abuse and know that they will not be penalized for doing so.
Right now, what do you think? What should someone individually do to prevent these kind of things happening internationally and locally?
Individually, I think you just need to be very aware of your surroundings. You need to discuss this with young people, men and women. In people like us who are in teaching situations should make our staff, our young people aware that these are very important issues. And we should teach women and girls to be more confident about talking about problems that they have and abuse that they have experienced.
Thank you very much.
What does 1 billion rising mean to you?
To me, it is being brought out into the world that we are a part of the world that's happening. And sometimes we are even worse, because when it happens in this country, the rule of law doesn't apply. Starting from Tangol to what happens to all our sisters in the Middle East, we are living all this high life, our leaders, based on the sweat and blood of our sisters in the Middle East. That's abuse. And in Parliament, in the highest legislature, sexist comments are made. This must stop, and that's what we stand here for, to make a beginning towards a movement that, along with the billion other women, that the proportion of billion to 7 billion will reduce because of actions taken by society at large.
And now statistically it says that 1 in 3 women will be raped or abused in their lifetime. How do you see this situation, and who is partially to blame for this?
Well, lots of people are to be blamed. I think we ourselves are to be blamed, because as a society we have not stood up. We have not challenged those who are doing it wrong. We have not held them accountable. And more or so, we haven't collectively taken the issue of our brothers and our sisters and mothers and our daughters. So I think we are to be blamed as a society, and I think it's time that this society in Sri Lanka too stands up towards that, towards the people who need our assistance. Let us collectively stand, force accountability upon those who, and bring out legislation, bring enforcement, and above all, bring the right values into our society from childhood to death.
Thank you very much.
I'm with Shireen Xavier at the OBR event at Lipton Circus. Now, Shireen, what do you think? Does this kind of event, will this event actually have an impact, do you think?
I think because of the traffic and because of the people, they are stopping and looking at all the ridings. And I think, on a day like this, especially when a lot of people are concentrating on something else, this is something else.
Now, do you think that with all the problems, with all the rapes and the murders, and do you think that women are partially to blame for being silent in the face of abuse or any kind of violation against them?
I think you can't blame the women. It's the system that you have to blame, because the system doesn't allow women to speak out, and those women who are speaking out are penalized or criminalized. So that is the reason that women are not speaking out, and the system also is not in favor of women. It's because women are not point of reference, men are point of reference, so it will be difficult for them to.
What do you think one person can do individually to ensure that these things don't happen, or to create awareness for locally and globally?
Yeah, one thing is again reporting the violence and then also providing support to people who are going through this. In the sense, making women feel that they're not alone for combating this or fighting against this. That's what we can do. And it's also like, there has to be a global movement. I think it's not new. This is not the first time we are starting. I mean, I think this is the progress, and then we have come and globally we are doing that. I mean, that's encouraging.
Right now, do you think that in Sri Lanka we have enough organizations that are there to create awareness about this at all?
I mean, there's never enough. So I think, if we said that there are enough organizations, then I don't think we will face the problem as much as we are facing. So I think we need to, and it's organization, I'm not talking about just, it's organization mean people coming together. That's what we need. It's not just like, an organization that is specific to X, Y, and Z, but people coming together is what important.
Thank you very much.
Carol, what does 1 billion rising mean to you?
Well, it means that we have to bring a stop to the violence against women and children. And in recent times in Sri Lanka, that has risen by another 6%. And it seems to be rising. There's total disrespect on the street for women when they move out. And that's why I'm here today.
And do you believe in the notion that women are partially to blame because they keep silent?
Well, I have 3 things to tell you. I blame the mothers. Absolutely blame the mothers. Bring up your boy children the same as you would your girl children. Make them suitable citizens. So when they come out into society, they are capable of treating you with respect, other women with respect, and the children outside there with respect. Number 2, I also ask the Buddhist priests and the Catholic priests and the Christian priests and the Hindu priests, stop your separation of, bring a separation into this notion that you have about race and religion. Kindly transfer all your thoughts into saving people's souls in this country, teaching these people to treat one another with dignity. And number 3, I'm talking to the parliamentarians. I'm not talking to any particular party, I'm talking to all of them. Get up and do something useful for a change. Ensure that there is no bail given to perpetrators, no suspended sentences, rigorous imprisonment, and if they have been called guilty in the court of law, they should not hold any positions when they are out where they deal with children, no schools, no parliament jobs, no government jobs, and also take away their children, because these perpetrators should not have any access to their own girl children, because who knows where it's going to stop. So those 3 things, there's a law in 2005, it's called the Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, asking broaden that act to include these above statements that I made.
And what do you think of the turnout today? And do you think events like this really do create awareness?
I think, in fairness to some of the men who are not perpetrators in any way, shape or form, maybe they are also made aware that women have an issue. I mean, a woman can't get on a bus, they can't go on a street, they can't work in a workplace without being abused in some way, shape or form. Even rude comments, that becomes actually violence against a woman. If all these people have a mother, learn to treat other women with respect, because I think, I'm talking to the mothers now, if your sons don't treat other women with respect, even when they are 40 or 50, they are still your son. That means they don't respect you.
Thank you so much.
We are with Prabhudeepan. Now, statistics claim that 1 in 3 women will be either abused or raped in their lifetimes. Now, what do you think are the reasons behind this appalling number?
I think there's many reasons. A culture. There's a culture of patriarchy. We live in a patriarchal society. B, a culture of impunity, and a culture of violence. I think those are 3 main reasons, and also a culture of inequality among people. I think those are the main dynamics that I feel that violence against women is prevalent and high and on the increase in Sri Lanka. So that's my take on that. Yep.
Right. So now, in your opinion, what should be the maximum penalty meted out to a person accused or convicted of abuse against a woman or children?
I think first, justice is important. I'm not very much for the death penalty or whatever, but I think that if there is justice and they are held accountable, I think that's one way to start, which we see lacking here in this country and many countries, because again, the culture of impunity. So I would call for justice and for women and children who for their lives, and of course whatever the ultimate penalty or punishment, I would opt for that, but not death penalty and stuff like that. I mean, yeah.
Right now, I just need another perspective now. Do you think that women are partially to blame for being silent in the face of abuse?
I really don't think so. I think women have been making noises. I think it's the men who need to be blamed for being silent as well. I think under the assumption just because they are not raping, they're not assaulting, they're not harassing, and therefore that's okay. And I think it's men like that being silent, which is the reason that today you see such an outbreak. And also some men out there are kind of defining what it is to be a man, and it's almost as if you're a man, you rape and you assault. So I think it's important, like men who believe otherwise, to step up and not be silent anymore. Of course, the women. Women also need to rise, but I think they need allies, good allies like us men. So I think it's important for men to step up.
Right now, in your opinion, who do you think, where does the responsibility lie in the sense that to prevent this kind or to keep a control of it, where does responsibility lie?
I think it lies at every sphere in life. I think it lies in our households, like how we teach our children, the men, the boys in our home. I think it's in our schools, in societies, in churches, in mosques, in Hindu, in temples, and in Kovils, etc. And also I think at the state level, at what as a state, what we are portraying, and what our stance is towards violence against women. I think it's something that cuts across every aspect of society, and I think everybody needs to step up. Lawmakers, law keepers, the policies, people making sure that we practice the policies, and also as citizens. I think it's also mainly our responsibility to not only to act on it, but also hold people that we put into parliament and we appoint accountable for these things. And I think it's important.
Thank you very much.
I'm here at the 1 Billion Rising event, which is happening at Lipton Circus, and with me is Naren Gunasekara. Naren, what does 1 Billion Rising mean to you?
I think it's an important step for people to take, to actually, instead of just sitting in front of their computer, liking pages and stuff, to get out onto the street with some signs. I'm a fairly cynical person, but I would like to think that all the people in this crowded area who are driving past see this, kind of get it into their head that there is a problem. Because the main thing in Sri Lanka is that everybody wants to put these things under the carpet. Nobody wants to, think about how many girls get raped, how many kids get raped, any of those issues. So if at least 20% of the people who see us standing out here go home and change their minds and, think a bit more about this, then I think we've succeeded in one first step. So.
And who do you think is responsible for actually creating a voice for the women who are women and children who are abused?
I would say, in terms of creating a voice, everybody. I would say the authorities are responsible to. It's a law. It's just enforce the law. It's nothing. It's not rocket science. It's not complicated. You just have to enforce the law in a transparent and effective manner. That's it, really. So, but everybody has to take personal responsibility. There's nothing wrong if you're a guy in admiring an attractive girl. That's normal. But you don't go say things to her or stare like this. I've seen a lot of people doing that kind of thing, and that's just not respectful. So, individual person first, then everybody else, and then the authorities.
And what do you think, in your opinion, is the maximum penalty for someone who does indeed violate or abuse a woman or a child?
It would depend on the exact thing. For rape, I would say, can I say things like castration? Personally, I would castrate them and put them into a jail cell with a bunch of guys who haven't been, out for a long time. But more realistically, I would suggest incarceration and also psychological evaluation, because a lot of this stuff, it's not about sexual urges, it's about power, and it's about somebody who has been disempowered their whole life, taking it out on somebody that they can get control over. So I would suggest both incarceration and some kind of psychological evaluation and psychological work.
All right, thank you, Naren.
I'm with one of the organizers of the OBR Sri Lanka, Tehani Aryaratna. Now, Tehani, tell us, what do you think about this event?
Honestly, I think it was a great event. A lot of people came. We were expecting about 50 to 100 people, but I think over 300 people came. So it was really great to see that many people interested in the cause.
And is this the only event you'll have planned so far?
No, we are planning things coming up, but there's nothing concrete so far, but we are brainstorming, and a lot of people have shown interest, so we will be taking it forward.
Well, according to the media, there have been a few events which are linked to this over this weekend. Anything to say about those?
Yeah, so OBR is a global campaign, and there have been a couple of events in Sri Lanka. Today there was one in Batticlo as well, and over this week Melomanic Sessions are doing a music show for us. Grassrooted is doing their Sheer Madness campaign. So there are a couple of events happening this week towards OBR.
Just tell us where these events are, sir.
Sheer Madness is at Barefoot, I believe it's tomorrow at 7, and Melomanic is at the Warehouse Project at 6:30.
Right, so now who do you think should be held responsible for maintaining or stopping abuse against women and children in this country?
Okay, that's a big question. I think all of us are in some way responsible. And I think it's up to us to kind of dispel these myths that, clothes cause rape, or women going out at night are asking for it, or things like that. It's really all about changing societal mindsets. And I think that's, if you read some of the boards today, that's really what we're trying to do. These boards that say short skirts don't rape, rape is rape. I mean, that's the kind of thing we're trying to say here.
So do you think that women are at some level to blame for being silent about abuse?
You can't ask me that, because I would never say that the victims are to blame. But women like us who can say something should say something.
Right. So now, as an individual, what can an individual do to stop this, to promote or create awareness about these events?
I think one thing that is very important is when you see something happening, you have to say something. So if you see someone being harassed in a bus, you have to come to that person's defense. If you see that happening on the road, if people are catcalling, stop and ask them, what are you doing? Just actually saying something and making a move towards it lets people know that they can't get away with things like that.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.